Today we're looking at some Pokemon that got nerfed right after they were introduced and how they performed before and after the nerfs in Smogon competitive singles, since Game Freak usually only makes major changes to Pokemon when a new generation is released. We'll be focusing on Pokemon that were introduced in one generation and then directly nerfed in the next one. For this list, I'm only including Pokemon that received direct nerfs, not ones that were affected by mechanic changes or other indirect shifts. Regieleki got introduced in Generation 8 and nerfed in Generation 9 when it was reintroduced to Pokémon Home. Its signature ability, Transistor, originally boosted its electric moves by 50%, making its electric type attacks quite scary, especially since it does have a respectable special attack stat of 100 and also an unmatched speed tier. However, in Gen 9, this boost was cut down to 30%, supposedly because of how good it performed in VGC, significantly reducing Regieleki's damage output. However, instead of falling off in viability, it actually became better. It jumped from the UU tier in Gen 8 to Ubers in Gen 9. In Gen 8, Regieleki was balanced by its lackluster coverage, which left it unable to effectively threaten common ground types. But in Gen 9, Regieleki became a major abuser of Terra Stylization. With Terra Ice and the move Terra Blast, it gained perfect coverage against ground types and could bypass electric resist like Dragon and Grass types. This combination of perfect coverage and insane speed made it too strong for Gen 9 OU, leading to it getting banned after just one day. Talonflame was introduced in Generation 6 and nerfed in Generation 7 and might be the most infamous example of this video concept. Despite its mediocre stats and a typing that left it vulnerable to common threats, Talonflame carved out a unique niche in Gen 6 thanks to its signature ability, Kill Wings. This ability gave all flying type moves +1 priority, turning powerful moves like Brave Bird and Acrobatics, as well as recovery moves with Roost, into some of the strongest priority options in the game. But in Generation 7, Kill Wings got a major nerf as the ability was tearing up VGC as well. The ability would now only activate if Talonflame was at full health. Since Brave Bird inflicts recall and Talonflame is heavily punished by Stealth Rock on the field, it became much harder to keep the ability active. As a result, Talonflame dropped from being a solid OU pick in Gen 6 to RUBL in Gen 7, losing much of its competitive value. Mimikyu was introduced in Generation 7 and nerfed in Generation 8. Its signature ability, Disguise, would act as a free substitute. The first hit Mimikyu takes in battle would deal 0 damage and would break its disguise instead. In Gen 8, Mimikyu now takes 12.5% damage on the disguise hit instead of 0, making it a bit worse. Mimikyu was actually great in Gen 7 UU and somewhat niche in Gen 7 OU, relying mostly on its unique typing and the ability Disguise. The ability gave it a free turn to set up Sword Stance, but aside from that, Mimikyu was pretty mediocre, its stats are below average, and the lack of a strong physical Ghost Stab move held it back. Mimikyu eventually dropped to RU in Gen 8 and lost almost all of its OU viability. Cinderace was also introduced in Generation 8 and nerfed in Generation 9. In Gen 8, it got banned to Ubers thanks to its insanely powerful ability Libero. Combined with a fast move pool, solid attack and amazing speed, Libero changed Cinderace's type to match the move it was using that turn, effectively giving it stab on every attack. This made Cinderace extremely hard to wall defensively, especially with strong coverage options like High Jump Kick, Gunk Shot, Zen Headbutt, Sucker Punch and U-turn for pivoting. Plus with heavy duty boots, it could switch in without worrying about hazards. However, in Generation 9, Libero was nerfed to only activate on the first move used after switching in, which significantly lowered Cinderace's damage output. As a result, it dropped to OU tier, where it's mostly used as a fast pivot with useful utility moves like Core Change and Will-O-Wisp. In fact, many Gen 9 Cinderace sets don't even run Libero anymore, which really shows how much the ability got hit. I do suspect that Libero was not nerfed because of how great Cinderace was, even in battle spot singles, but more because of the introduction of terrestrialization. Terra would not be nearly as cool if there were some Pokemon that could basically Terra every turn. For the last two Pokemon on the list, we have Zacian and Zamazenta, both introduced in Gen 8 and also nerfed in Gen 9. Zacian-Crowned was one of the most dominant Pokemon in VGC history, so its nerfs came as no surprise. What was surprising though is that Zamazenta received similar treatment despite never reaching the same level of success. Zacian-Crowned lost 20 base points in attack going into Gen 9, while Zamazenta-Crowned lost 10 points in attack and 5 points in both defense and special defense. Their base forms, Zacian Hero and Zamazenta Hero, also each lost 10 attack stat points. On top of that, both of their signature abilities, Interpret Sword for Zacian and Dauntless Shield for Zamazenta, were nerfed to only activate the first time they enter the field, instead of every time. These were major changes that heavily impacted their power. In Gen 8, Zacian-Crowned and Zacian Hero were both too strong for Ubers and were placed in Anything Goes. But in Gen 9, they were unbanned from Anything Goes and now are legal in Ubers, where Zacian-Crowned is still a top tier threat, but no longer overwhelming, and Zamazenta-Crowned and Hero were Ubers in Gen 8 as well, but in Gen 9 they were both tested in OU. Zamazenta-Crowned ended up getting banned again, though it has carved out a decent niche in Ubers. Zamazenta Hero, on the other hand, managed to stick around and is now a strong and reliable pick in the OU tier. I actually have some honorable mentions that I didn't feel like deserve to be on the list because these nerfs are very minor, but I still wanted to include them anyways. First of all, Urshifu Single Strike, very strong Pokemon in Gen 8 OU and was banned as a result to the Ubers tier. Its signature move Wicked Blow got a slight damage nerf, going from 80 base power to 75 base power in Gen 9, bringing it in line with Urshifu's Rapid Strike's 75 base power Surging Strikes. What impact did this nerf have on its viability? It did not have any impact. It's still Ubers in Gen 9. It was not even tested in the OU tier after it was re-released. Mega Kangaskhan gone. Also, technically not a Pokemon that was introduced in Gen 6, but the Mega version was. Its Mega form was stupidly overpowered in both singles and VGC, and its signature ability Parental Bond got a nerf as a result. The ability used to provide a 50% damage boost, or the second hit would do 50% of the damage of the first hit, so technically it's a 50% damage boost, and that damage boost got nerfed to 25%, but it did not really change this Pokemon's viability either. Still Ubers in Gen 7 OU as well. And there you have it. These are Pokemon that got nerfed instantly after their introduction. Let me know in the comments what you think about these nerfs. If you made it this far, make sure to like the video and subscribe if you are new. If you want to support the channel even more, you can become a member for as little as $1 and you will see your name on the end screen. Thanks for watching and see you next time.